Let's watch a Disney Channel movie. Hello everyone and welcome back to my pop culture podcast. So as I talked about on my TikTok at Pop Culture Queen 99, I've decided to just do Disney Channel original movies for my podcast. So we're gonna literally watch 3 DCOMs a week and I'm gonna come on here and I'm gonna talk about them. So I've decided to watch all the DCOMs available to me through Disney Plus. So there are some that aren't available, so I will not be able to do those. They're not really ones that people probably really care about. Like the first one ever, Under Wraps, was not available. There is a remake of Under Wraps. And I had actually seen the original Under Wraps, so I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't on there because I wanted to compare and contrast the original to the new one, but I don't remember it well enough from my past time watching it many years ago, so I guess we won't get to do that. Anyway, moving on. So for this week, the first 3 movies were You Lucky Dog, Brink, and Halloween Town, but I decided to save Halloween Town for later because I do love those movies, and I watch them every year for Halloween anyway, and I know there's a lot of DCOMs watching only 3 a week. I'll probably still be doing this by Halloween. So we'll do all the Halloween Town ones for Halloween. Some week in October, probably the first one. And I might do commentary on those. We shall see. So I skipped it and went on the next one, which was Zenon. So let's get into the discussion. And also on my Pop Culture Queen 99 TikTok, I also did an entire narration commentary thing on Zenon already. That's already up. If you want to go check it out. My iPad's on the charger. So sorry if I'm bending way over here to look. I'm gonna try to read it and then come back over here so you guys can not have to see me bending down all the time. So yeah, You Lucky Dog. So Jack Morgan is a dog therapist, and when he was a young kid, he had this gift that he no longer seems to have. But one day he is basically about to be fired for life, whatever. They're gonna get rid of him because he does a terrible job of doing something. I can't remember what he did wrong, but this old man comes in right before he's gotta move out and get everything out or whatever, and he brings his dog in and the connection is back and he's able to actually read the dog's mind. It was a gift that he's had since he was a kid, but like I said, it went away. Now it's all of a sudden back with this dog, which is named Lucky. Now the old man actually dies. Sorry. And he leaves everything to the dog and not his own family members that are very upset about this. So his family members are like, okay, well, what can we do to get the money back? Because we want our money because it belongs to us. They're very spoiled, very rich. That's exactly why he didn't leave them the money in the first place. And so they want to do everything they can to get rid of Jack Morgan or the dog or whatever. They don't actually care. They just want the money. They have no care in the world how they get the money. They find out that they have to prove that he is incompetent, basically. He is mentally not okay, which is proving to be very easy to do because Jack Morgan, the dog therapist, is the trustee of the money, and the dog gets the money. I don't know if I said that, but the dog gets everything, including the money, and he's just the trustee that gets to speak for Lucky to get the purchases made because he's a human, and obviously Lucky is a dog, and Lucky can't talk. And so they quite often in this movie go shopping, which is really great. So anyway, the family members, they try to sabotage and do anything they can to prove that he is mentally not okay, which he looks like he's not whenever he is the dog. So it's kind of crazy. He ends up basically becoming the dog. There's a scene early in the movie when he first moves into the big mansion that the old man used to live in with the dog, because he has to live there to be there to take care of the dog's needs. The maids come in and they get scared off because he's completely acting like a dog, and it's weird. And so when he wakes up the next day, the car driver is there, and the car driver is the only one that believes him, I guess, and is the only one that doesn't think he's a complete nut job. or a nutcase and doesn't leave. And the great thing about this car driver is he's played by the ever so great late James Avery, who played Uncle Phil on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. This is another reason why I want to go back and watch DCOMs, is I want to see what crazy cast we will find in these movies. Now, I didn't recognize anybody else in this movie, but I recognized him immediately because how can you not look at him? But I was super excited because I was like, oh my god, I've never seen Uncle Phil in like anything else, so that's amazing. R.I.P. to James Avery. But anyway, so yeah, so eventually they realize that they can just take him to court, Jack Morgan, to prove that he's insane and he's not capable of controlling the money for the dog or whatever. They actually, at one point, they were going to kill the dog, but it hadn't panned out. So they go to court, and it's not going well. It's not going well at all. And so Jack decides, put me on the stand, he's going to become the dog, and to prove that, because they've basically now admitted that he becomes the dog. Like, that's why it's not going well. Like, he's admitted, yeah, I become the dog. I am the dog. Like, that makes him seem like a mentally ill person and crazy, and not like, oh my god, I can't believe that that's true. So he has to prove that it is true so that Lucky doesn't have to be stuck with his horrible family members. Because it's not that he cares about the money, Jack Morgan. He doesn't get any of the money. It's the dog who gets him the money. He just cares about Lucky. He doesn't want Lucky to be stuck with those stupid people. So he gets up on the stand, and somehow he ends up turning into the dog, and they prove that he is, in fact, turning into the dog. So he gets to keep the money, and the other family members have to go, and it's really fun. But on the way out, they try to shoot the dog, but the bullet barely grazes his ear, and so he doesn't die, and he makes it. Everything's okay. The relatives were arrested. So, yeah. Because they try to kill the dog and steal the money. So yeah, that was an interesting movie. I have to say, of all the DCOMs in the world, the way that they have completely changed DCOMs surprises me. Let's talk about that for a second. So this movie is like one of the first ever Disney Channel original movies ever made. And it felt like a movie that even at my age watching, because I'm 24, I'm obviously not a young child, that I could appreciate it and I could understand it. And there's depths to it that they just don't have in Disney Channel movies anymore. I think Disney Channel movies originally were meant to be about a message in the movie that kids need to understand. And somewhere down the line, pretty far down the line, but somewhere down the line, they just started being just musicals. They didn't have any kind of hidden under message. Now, some of them might. Zombies kind of does. You know, like, don't judge someone because of what they look like, or Descendants, like, don't judge someone for where they come from. Like, they kind of do, but, like, I don't know. I haven't watched the other newer ones besides that came out within those years, so I don't really know. But I just feel like this is so much more wholesome, so much more like everybody in the family can enjoy it. Whereas, like, now, if you watch a Disney Channel movie, like my sister watched all the Descendants movies recently, and she just didn't care for them. That's totally valid, because she's a 20-something-year-old adult who just thinks they're, you know, like, what? To be fair, she was partially just mad because they didn't have Ariel's daughter in it, because Ariel's daughter's in this Little Mermaid sequel, and she loves that character. So she was a little bit mad about that. Like, how can you do that and not have... I'm like, well, she's probably because she's an adult now. Living her own life. But yeah, it's definitely interesting the way that people can perceive DCOM. So I kind of wanted to go in on a lot of the older ones too with fresh eyes and see if I felt like they were too kiddie or not. And I just don't feel like this is too kiddie. I feel like that's actually a really great movie. I wouldn't have known it was a Disney Channel movie if I didn't know. Like, literally, if I put on that movie for you and you watched it, you would not know that was a Disney Channel movie until it ended and it did the little Disney Channel logo. Literally. So yeah, let's go to the next one. Brink. Brink is a classic that everybody loves. And so we gotta talk about Brink. So Brink is a teenager who lives in Los Angeles, and he loves roller skating. He and his friends are the group called Soul Skaters, but there's another group of skaters They go by the name X-Blades with a Z. I also have my big notes in here because I couldn't finish them. So, Team X-Blades is a sponsored team, which means they get money every week for skating, for wearing the gear, basically for sponsoring the team membership. And they're kind of like the winners. They're always the winners. They're the competition leads. And so the Soul Skaters, they skate for fun. They don't skate for money. They don't skate for anything other than just the fact that they enjoy it. But Andy, even though he loves skating so much and he doesn't want to do it for money, when he's home one night, he overhears his parents talking about money because his dad's currently out of a job because his back issues. I guess he was injured somehow. He is on disability, so they're not making a ton of money from his dad right now. And they have the daughter's braces to pay for, they have hospital bills or whatever to pay for. They're having to deal with money issues, which I never thought I would see parents in a Disney Channel anything have money issues. So I respect Disney Channel and appreciate Disney Channel for doing that, because that is a very common thing. And for parents to be able to watch this movie and maybe relate to a struggle is phenomenal. I don't relate to the struggle, but I could. And so Andy decides to take matters into his own hands, and when he finds out, because he knows that the X-Blades team is sponsored, and when Boomer gets injured in one of their skating things that they did at school to see who was the best team, because X-Blades team kept like bullying the Soul Skaters, and so in order to get them to stop, if that Soul team won, the X-Blades team would stop bullying them or hazing them or whatever. They were like pranking each other, and they couldn't tattle because, that seems bad. But Boomer gets hurt, one of the guys on the X-Blades team, so now there's an open spot because they have to have 4 people to go to competition. And even though X-Blades does have a couple people, they don't all skate like for the competition, I guess, whatever. I don't know. Actually, no, that's X-Blades who needs the 4th person because he ends up joining them. I don't know. Anyway, so Andy decides to join Team X-Blades solely because of the money. And he says, but you can't tell anybody I'm on the team. I will come to practice, do what I have to do. So he decides to tell his parents, like, oh, what if I get a job to help out around here? And his dad says no, because it's roller skating and he's already got enough of an issue with his son doing roller skating all the time and not schoolwork. Like, he complains about it as it is, so he doesn't want him to do it. Well, Andy's already done it. He's already signed the contract. He's already taken the gear. He's already in the X-Blades. So now Andy's struggling through life right now because he's going to school. He's got homework. He's doing X-Blades. He's doing soul skating because he doesn't just up front tell them, oh, hey, I joined X-Blades to make money for my dad, to help my parents out because we're broke. And his dad tells him he got him a job. So now he also has another priority. So he's like asleep all day in class because he's not able to stay awake because he's doing way too much. And so finally his dad goes to talk to him, and he finally comes clean and tells him, I've been doing the skating, I've been doing all of it. And his dad finally is understanding and appreciative and not, like immediately hating on the skating thing. But he doesn't do that until after the invitational. So they have this invitational where they have to skate. And Andy pretends to get out of it. Brink pretends to get out of it with the Soul Skaters by pretending to be sick so that he can go do it for X-Blades. And he, of course, wins. And that's when his friends find out that he's on Team X-Blades. So they all hate him because he didn't tell them off the get-go. And he's really upset because... why wouldn't you tell us? Like, why would you go for this soul crushing team, the haters, the bad guys? Like, I thought skating was supposed to be fun. They're completely right, but there's so much more to it than that, and they don't let him explain. But he also, if he'd have told them from the get-go, they probably would have understood. So Brink quits to get his friends back, but Val offers his spot back since Boomer won't be ready in time for the competition, like the final one at the end of the movie. So his dad tries to talk to him. This is when his dad tries to talk to him, is after that. And he doesn't know what to do, and eventually I think he decides to stay with X-Blades. So the Soul Skaters show up to the downhill course for the final competition so that they can test it out, they can see what it's like, they know the course, whatever. Well, it's Gabriella versus Brink, and Val tells them to go wide on the curve and just trust him. It turns out Val decided to throw some rocks down, and so Gabriella gets really, really hurt. Also, Gabriella is played by Christina Vidal, who plays the chick who sings in Freaky Friday in the band. Don't wanna grow up, I wanna get out. Hey, take me away. So that's fun. Brink tries to apologize. She doesn't accept. He goes over there to visit her. And she has this really great quote. You are defined by the company you keep and how well you keep it. No, that's his dad's quote. Sorry. Because his dad talks to him. Because after he talks to her, that's when he talks to his dad. And he says he didn't just do it for the money. He wanted the fame. He wanted to be on magazines. He wanted that spotlight. So this time he quits the X-Blades for real and he tries to go get his friends back. So his job is at this company called Pup and Suds. He buys them some new equipment and gets them basically a sponsorship that's from him. And he doesn't immediately just say oh, you guys want me back. He doesn't immediately go back into skating because obviously his friends were really mad at him, but they invite him back in anyway because they need a fourth. And so they go to the competition and they face off, and it's a tie between them, and so it's down to the downhill course at the end of the movie, and Val cheats to try to win by a variety of things. So Brink wins, and Team Pup and Suds wins. Val is let go from X-Blades because he cheated. Nobody likes that. That's not good. And they offer Brink the team captain spot on X-Blades if he wants it, but he says no because he would rather be with his friends than be on some sponsored team, even if they don't suck. Because Val's really the only one on X-Blades who sucks. He's the ringleader of the whole team of everything. It's completely up to Val. And the other guys just kind of follow along in suit, but they really did like Brink, and they're completely okay with it. So that's that one. And of course, finally, Zenon. Okay, first, I don't know why they say 21st century. I guess she's still in this century technically, but I don't know. Anyway, so Zenon is a girl living in the year 2049 in a space station. And she's a huge fan of this band called Microbe. And Microbe is coming to space to have the first ever concert in space. And of course, the lead singer's name is Protozoa. So she enters this competition to win to dance with Protozoa. That's a major big thing that's going to come back later, so I wanted to get that off the bat. But before the concert, we get a visit from the Wyndham and Lutz, and these are guys who run the company that basically pay for the space station, and they're here to make sure everything's okay and to make sure, basically to approve whether or not they get to keep the space station, decide that it's worth it to have the space station. Well, immediately from Zenon just meeting the guy, she knows something's up with Wyndham, something's wrong with this guy, he's not right in the head. He's not right. And so she ends up, when she's getting some stuff out the recycling bin at night, she sees Lutz at the memory bank trying to get in. And so she basically derails him and makes him walk her to her quarters where she is living because, she thinks he's up to no good and she's trying to stop him. So every night she tries to watch him and keep an eye on him, and he doesn't quite get in yet. So finally she decides to get the codes from her friend on the ship. Not Nebula, her other friend. Nebula is one of her friends, played by the great Raven Simone, by the way. Nebula's her best friend. But his dad, the guy who's her friend who gets her the code, his dad has the code log book, whatever, so he can get all the codes. So she writes it on her hand. And so she sneaks into the memory bank to spy on Lutz, and she sees that he gets this disc out, he puts it in, he types in whatever code, and he takes the disc back out, and then he leaves. Well, then she can't get out because the code has sweat wiped away because she was hot from the sweating because she's, stuck in she was like hidden. So they come and show up and she gets busted. Well, this is the last straw for her parents because she's messed up a couple of times. She messed up right before Wyndham and Lutz even showed up by going out in a moon suit in space to watch this cool, like, color thing. I don't even know what it was called. And so she's now grounded to Earth. And so she has to go stay with her Aunt Judy on Earth, and it's definitely a weird experience. But in order to get there, she has to go home on a shuttle, and guess who's on the shuttle with her? Lutz and Wyndham. So she gets through to the shuttle, gets off the shuttle, gets home, everything, and they tell her where to go meet her aunt so that she can go home, and she puts her hair behind her ear, because here's the fun thing here. Before she got off the ship, Nebula, the previous night, had found a disc on the ground because Lutz, when he went to put it in his pocket, missed his pocket and dropped the disc on the ground. So this disc that Lutz did something with is now an earring that Nebula made and gave to Zenon. So now he sees this earring that Zenon has that is very important and very vital, and so he has this crazy look when he looks at her. And then she walks off, and he tries to run after her, but he's too late. So now he is after this disc. So one day, he breaks into her aunt's house, and they destroys the place looking for the disc, not thinking about the fact that maybe she's still wearing it. But anyway, she struggles through life on Earth. There was a class where she had to swim or whatever, and she obviously is used to swimming in space. She doesn't know how to ride a bike, like a real bike. She's used to stationary bikes, etc. But she does meet a couple friends, including Margie, who's kind of a jerk. But she also kind of gets a boyfriend named Greg, played by one of my favorite actors, really, Gregory Smith, who plays Ephraim Brown in Everwood. And he's now a director, and he's directed a lot of my favorite shows, so that's really cool. So she has a couple friends, Greg, Andrew, Andrew's really good with computers. And so after talking to Greg for a while, they figure out that it's the move that she did when she pulled her hair behind her ear, that he noticed the earring. He was like, were you wearing that earring? They figure out that it's the earring that Lutz is after. So they decide to give it to Andrew to check out, and Andrew figures out it's a bug that can absolutely destroy any kind of computer, anything, because it destroys his computer. So he creates an undo disk that she now has to get to undo. So they try to do it from Earth to undo it to the space station, but they can't. They have to put it in the main memory bank on Earth, on the space station. So she tries to tell her parents so they can get her up there, whatever, but nobody believes her except for Nebula. So when she calls Nebula, she says, go check the logs for the shuttles, because shuttles have to constantly go to the space station for supplies or whatever, so that she can get on one to get to space. Well, she misses the last one when they try to get her on it. And so the next, that night though, Margie and everybody's there to say goodbye to her because Margie doesn't like her, so that's why she's there. And she says, I just hope it doesn't blow up with microbes on it. And that's when Zenon realizes that Microbe has to get to space, so she's going to sneak on the shuttle, get on the shuttle with Microbe. So she goes to meet Microbe, and even though she's meant to be escorted away by security, he stops them and he lets her get on the shuttle with them, and so she ends up getting to go to space. But right before the shuttle leaves, Aunt Judy's trying to find her and shows up, and Wyndham and Lutz find out from Judy that Zenon is trying to get to space, and because they know that she knows, because Lutz finally told Wyndham at some point in the movie that she has the disc. They know that she's trying to undo the destroying of the space station. Because here's the crazy thing. At the beginning of the movie, they promised the space station more money, and it turns out he doesn't have more money. He's actually committing fraud in order to collect the insurance money. He just wants this. He truthfully decided to host a Microbe concert in space and give this thing more money to collect the insurance money because he doesn't have the money. He just wants the money back for himself. So he's literally committing fraud. That's crazy for a Disney Channel movie, you guys. So anyway. So they end up getting on the shuttle to Judy, and Judy is terrified of flying, so this is a terrible experience for her. So they get to the shuttle and she ends up saving the day, of course, after a lot of arguing with everybody because they don't believe her and they're trying to do their best to stop it. And she's like, just let me, here's the undo disc. They put it in, she gets the code in. Literally a second before it's about to blow up, she manages to save the day. And so the Microbe concert is on, and because she's met Microbe and she's met Protozoa, she decides to give up her dance with Protozoa and asks for two things. Her dance be with her best friend Nebula, and that the song is dedicated to Greg. And Judy meets Commander Plink, and that's gonna come back later with another Zenon movie, I already know. So there's that. And then, yeah, that was the movie. Great movie. Also, she's only 13 in this. That's the crazy part. Zenon is 13 doing all of this stuff. Like, girl, go ahead. Oh, and Lutz and Wyndham are immediately arrested once they figure out that she was right. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this episode of the podcast, and I want to talk about more DCOMs and more thoughts. So let's actually like rehash the movies and kind of talk about more of my like crazy 24, 25-year-old thoughts that I have watching old DCOMs. So for the fact that Zenon is 13, going through basically like living on a space station and not being believed by her parents, and the space station's about to blow up, the people committing fraud, like that's actually really crazy for a 13-year-old to be going through, if you ask me. Also, the space station had been up there for like, I want to say like 17 years is what the movie said, which is crazy to me. When does that mean that the space station went up into space? Like, are we already at the year that this space station should be going into space? And she's lived in the space station since she was 5. And so that's the question I have. I had it in my TikTok. I have it now. How do they get vitamin D when they're in space, in the space station? Like, obviously they can't tan. They don't tan. But like, do they have a way to get some vitamin D? Because they're in space. I know it's a movie from like 1999. It's literally as old as me. That's the crazy part to me. But like, it just would be nice to have some answers. What else? You Lucky Dog's also pretty crazy. Like, I mean, these people literally tried to like murder a dog. That makes me sad. And Brink, you know, I really love that these DCOMs were not just for like kids and like only kids can appreciate it, that like anyone can appreciate it of any age. Like, I still to this day think that these are great movies. Zenon is one of my favorite movies that I've loved since I was a child. And so I was really happy watching it again and enjoying it, and that I didn't just think, oh my god, like that's just some little, no, like it's such an intense little thing going on. That storyline, super fun, really loved it. I wish all family-friendly movies were made like that, and I think Disney is getting back into doing that. They did pretty good with Prom Pact, but like they're not making a Disney Channel. It's not a Disney Channel movie though. Prom Pact was a PG movie for Disney Plus that they made a G version of that they aired on Disney Channel. It's not technically a Disney Channel movie. And so that's the thing though. It's like, it has to be a Disney Plus movie for them to make a movie of the same kind of like intensity. And I get it. It's because kids can't like understand things, but like, what's like Disney animated movies, even like they can make them have these fun, interesting plot points like that. Like, it's not just some little sing-song cute movie. Anyway, that's my discussion on the movies. So that's all for the Disney Channel movies for this week. For sneak peek, next week we are watching Can of Worms, The 13th Year, and Smart House. This is my list of all the DCOMs. It's like 4 pages. And there are some that we can't watch. The Other Me, which makes me sad because I like that one. Jet Jackson, the movie, which is totally okay because I've never seen the show, so I wouldn't have understood the plot. The Jenny Project, and that's what I think. There might be one more. No, that's it. And so the rest of these are all on Disney Plus, and then, you know, of course, I think the last 2 on this list, they ended up not being DCOMs or something, yeah. I don't know. Anyway. So, fun fact, they don't make DCOMs anymore. I didn't know this until recently. they switched to just making Disney Plus movies that they air on Disney Channel as well, like Zombies 3. Like, I remember Zombies 3 came out, I think that was one of the last ones, or it's meant to be, like it aired on Disney Channel and it came out on Disney Plus. So that was cool. And then, like I said, they have movies like Prom Pack that aired on Disney Channel that they have a G version of, and they have the PG version. So that's the other thing, is I would like to watch the Disney Channel version of movies like that, but I can't. So Prom Pack is not going to be on here, which is good, because Prom Pack is one that I actually watched recently, so it's totally okay. So anyway, that's that for the DCOMs. If you guys want to talk about more movies that I watched throughout the week, because I did watch the new Hunger Games and the new movie Upgraded that recently came out, because it's new, like this year, let me know. Maybe I'll talk about it on my on a podcast episode, like a separate one for like other movies and stuff. And maybe I'll just go talk about it on TikTok because it's easy. So I'll see you guys next week.